Lesson we're going to be talking about literal equations, and the next lesson will be the one that's actually focusing on dimensional analysis, so don't worry about that. We're just talking about literal equations, and I'll explain what that means once we get there. But for our warm-up, we've just got a couple easy equations, so go ahead, solve those, and then unpause the video and check your answers. So in this first equation, you would subtract 27 from each side. We get 9x equals negative 99. Divide each side by 9, and I'd get x equals negative 11. Over here on the right equation, I've got a variable on both sides, so I have to subtract 2x from each side. I get 7x minus 4 equals 3. Then I would add 4 to each side, and then I have 7x equals 7. Then I would divide each side by 7 and get x equals 1. And the good news is, if you understood how to solve these two equations, you're going to do just fine today. Because today we're going to be solving equations, but we are going to have more than one variable in them. But all we're going to do, we are going to solve them for a specific variable. So this first equation, I want to solve it for m, which means I am trying to get the letter m by itself. And don't be concerned about the fact that there's n's in here or what you do with them. Just remember, when they're not like terms, you can't combine them anyways. So this actually is going to be kind of easier in some ways than regular equations, because you don't even really need to do the addition or the subtraction and combine like terms, because we're not going to have like terms. So looking here, I've got 4m minus 3n equals 8. Okay? And if you think about my pizza thing that we've thought of before, if I were to put the sauce on, and this is when I would plug a number in for m, so off to the side I'll just write this as an example, you don't have to write this down. If I had like 4 times 2 minus 3n, the first thing I would do is to multiply by 4. I would first multiply this number by 4, and then I would subtract 3n. Okay, so I would multiply by 4 first, and then I would subtract 3n. So now, knowing that, the first thing I have to get rid of is the cheese. So the first thing I have to get rid of is this minus 3n. How do I get rid of minus 3n? Well, I'm just going to add 3n. And now I've got 4m, because my n's cancel out on the left side, equals 8 plus 3n. And what is 8 plus 3n? Well, these are not like terms. They both don't have the same variable. So 8 plus 3n is just 8 plus 3n. And then I'm going to try to get m by itself. How do I get rid of this multiplying by 4? Well, I have to divide each side by 4. So I get m equals, what's 8 plus 3n divided by 4? I don't know what it is because I don't have like terms, so you can just write it as 8 plus 3n over 4. And all we did there was we got m by itself. Solving these equations is not as hard as it looks, because all you're doing is you're just trying to get your variable by itself. And the way we do that is just like what we did before when we had numbers. It's just now we're going to have another variable in this equation.